You go back and watch the tape. There's some good things that happened in the game, but all of it gets overshadowed by, the 5 turnovers. So, we're in here today making all the corrections and making the adjustments that we need to make. And then we'll start turning our attention to Carolina.
Any opportunity to just go over with Marshawn?
Yeah, he and I had a conversation. And he understands. He understands that he can't retaliate, and that's something that, teams in this league are gonna continue to try him on. You look at at least a lot of the instances that I can think of, it's generally been a retaliation deal.
Were you able to get any more understanding or clarity from the NFL on why they ejected him?
No.
Were you happy to see the response with that Mike Evans got a more severe punishment, I guess, for?
Yeah, look, I don't understand, how they come to the conclusion of what they're coming to. Certainly, I felt like, what he did was way more egregious than, what Marshawn did. And, it's the second time that's happened, so I'm not sure how they come up with those, designations.
Dennis, do you have conversations with your team about those incidents like that where you worry about maybe the emotions getting the best of your team and losing focus at all, or do you think that's not an issue with this team?
Well, I have conversations with our football team a ton about things that keep you from winning in our league. And so we had those conversations again today. And we have to understand what keeps you from winning in our league. And right now, we're not we're committing too many of those errors that keep you from winning.
When you mentioned the designation or how they, I guess, come to punishment they come to, are you alluding to maybe that it should have been more harsh for a player leaving the sidelines?
Well, he was on the field for that particular play, but typically you don't see, these altercations typically kind of occur with the people that are involved and not people that are not involved.
Dennis, is Jameis's back affecting his passing or his accuracy?
I didn't see that. Again, you'll have to ask him whether he feels like that affected him or not. I don't think that was the case. Really when you go back and you evaluate that tape, you're going to say there was call it a 7 to 9 minute stretch in the game where we weren't very good. And we knew that was going to be a field position game. We knew that we were playing a really good defense. And I thought for the first 3.5 quarters, we played the game the way it needed to be played. I thought we missed some opportunities at some big plays down the field. And then I thought we maybe tried to go to the well a little bit too often in terms of taking those shots down the field. I thought there were some things underneath that maybe we could have taken advantage of. Here's the thing. Everybody kind of thinks that there's, you design this play and this person's getting the ball. Well, yeah, there's some of that, but yet the coverage dictates where the ball goes. Look, there was a lot of attention given to Mike, which left other people, in position to potentially make some plays. So I do think there was a couple of opportunities down the field that we had chances at, and we'll hit those as we, continue moving forward.
On the fumble, is that because he wasn't tackled or touched the ground, can cause a fumble in that situation?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, I think it's a really tough play and a call. And, a few years ago, that would have been easily ruled an incompletion. He's trying to make a catch and gets a little out of control and losing his balance and ends up going to the ground and can't maintain possession through the ground. So, I thought that was a tough play.
And how did Jameis feel today?
No, no. You know, obviously, look, the pain and discomfort is the pain and discomfort of losing a game. That was the pain and discomfort for all of us.
And I know you don't want to get too much into what he's dealing with, but you guys did feel pretty confident playing would not
Correct.
exacerbate the injury?
Correct.
Maybe he can continue to get well playing.
Correct.
Why were y'all better against the run this week than last week?
Look, different game, different scenario. You know, this is a team that we've, for whatever reason, matched up pretty well against, you know, in terms of the run and the pass, really. So I think our guys, look, we made corrections that we needed to make. That's part of what happens in our league. And we played, you know, a defensive game that was more similar to the standard that we expect around here.
I guess this, was Peyton Turner being an active, matchup, thing, or?
No, we wanted to get Tano in the game and see if he could, you know, be an improvement from where we were last week.
So imagine I could play the other running backs, Tony and Dwayne, how you think they play?
I thought, overall, I thought they did pretty good. You know, I thought Dwayne added a physical element in the run game, that was good to see. And I thought Tony did a nice job, and particularly some things in protection where I thought he did a pretty good job.
Dennis, is there, and this is kind of random, but related to everything going on, is there an area of the sideline you guys aren't allowed to cross? And if so, like, is it supposed to be like an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty or a discipline issue? I asked that 'cause, when everything happened with Bruce Arians, is he standing in an area he's allowed to stand in?
Yeah, I can't really answer that question.
I know there's like get back coaches and whatnot, and that's.
Yeah, well, look, none of us are supposed to be, you know, in the white painted area. That's generally not an issue unless, you know, you know, get in the way of one of the officials working the sideline, typically during the play. So yeah, I mean, look, you know, typically that's kind of an area that's been reserved for players and coaches, trainers.
Dennis, did you identify, I mean, are there any protection issues you're concerned about? Or is that-
No, look, if you go back and you watch the tape, the protection was actually pretty good. There was a couple of, you know, sacks that are, you know, where Jameis kind of escapes the pocket and you know, the one was I think the fumble that we ended up recovering, and then, you know, the other one was on our sideline at the end of the first half. I think that was technically a sack. I'd say there was probably, you know, 2 plays in there that I felt like, you know, protection wasn't what I wanted it to be. So I didn't feel, although I was actually kind of surprised when I got the play-by-play that said 6 sacks, because I didn't feel that in the game. I actually thought the protection was pretty good, and then when you watch the tape, you know, overall, I thought it was pretty good.
Did you sense at all that the ejection had any negative effect?
I didn't feel that way, no. I mean, you lose a good player,
Right.
you know, it affects us in that way. No, I didn't feel that.
Coach, last week against Atlanta, you talked about the number of sacks and how it's not always the offensive line's fault when you just, that's your first impression as a spectator or a fan. Looking at it this week, is it more of just, again, Jameis not releasing the ball and going through his reads quick enough, or maybe is it?
Yeah, look, there's a couple of that. You know, there's a lot of variables that go into that. There was a couple plays that they had some good rushes. I think there's one where Jameis was probably a little bit deep in the pocket. You know, like I said, there was a couple where he had, you know, an open lane and kind of scrambled out of there and, you know, had a chance potentially to make a play down the field or at least run for it. So, you know, it's hard for me to sit here and look at it and say there was a lot of protection issues. I didn't feel that way.
Is it a coverage situation?
Some of it, yeah. I mean, some of it, look, it's a good defense that we just played. And so there's a lot of different variables that go into that. So, yeah, I mean, you got to give that, look, you have to give Tampa Bay credit. I mean, you know, defensively, they played a heck of a game. They made it really, really challenging for us. You know, made us have to go the long, hard way. We didn't get, you know, a lot of explosive plays down the field, and they made the plays that they needed to make to give them a chance to win the game.
You had a couple of kickoffs that didn't reach the goal line.
Yeah, we felt like we had an advantage in terms of the coverage units. Actually, the first kickoff of the game, you know, we were actually trying to hang it up there and get him to return it, and then the next kickoff, he just, you know, Will left it, he kind of overcompensated a little bit and left it too short.
I feel like the way you guys adjusted, it seemed like Tom Brady was testing the slot early or trying to get those matchups with Mike Evans in the slot early, and it seems like you guys adjusted to that.
Yeah, we adjusted a couple of calls, you know, to try to, you know, I think they were trying to get, you know, match up inside with Justin, and we changed up a couple of things. And look, I felt like overall, I mean, you know, from a defensive standpoint, I mean, I thought we did a pretty good job of minimizing what their offense was able to do. You know, but certainly, you know, when you allow a game to kind of stay in that balance like it was, you know, eventually one team, you know, makes a critical mistake, and certainly we did, and then, you know, they have a Hall of Fame quarterback that took advantage of it.
Yeah, I know it was late in his brief, but how do you feel about Alontae Taylor coming in late?
I think he played 17 plays in the game, and I liked what I saw, you know. It's kind of a bang-bang play on our sideline that, you know, half a count later is going to be a fumble instead of an incompletion. You know, they had a third down, kind of sprint out, 7 route to Perriman that he ended up getting a PBU on. So, look, if he can stay healthy, I really like the player and like the prospect. And so, you know, I think that was good for him, you know, moving forward to get a little experience playing defense.
I know you were here in 08 and 17, you all kind of doing the same thing, Charlotte to London. Is there anything different you do this week other than just pack heavy when you go to Charlotte, or do you do anything different because you're going to be gone for so long?
No, not really a lot different. You know, we discussed a few things, you know, scheduling wise today with the team, just some logistics really more so than anything else. I wanted to get all that out of the way today, and I want the focus to be on Carolina. So when our players get back in here on Wednesday, after a player's day off, like we're just thinking about going to Carolina and trying to get a win in Carolina. And then we'll worry about all the other stuff after that.
You may have addressed this yesterday. Did you consider a field goal there before halftime?
Yeah, we thought about it. You know, your two options are attempt a 57-yard field goal, or punt it away, pin them down there, and feel pretty comfortable you're going into the half at 3-0. And I just felt like the way that game was playing, that I didn't want to take the chance of a 57-yard field goal. The percentages of making those is not great, although I have a lot of confidence in our kicker to be able to make those. But I felt like at that point in the game, the right decision was to, you know, punt it down there. They were getting the ball back to start the second half, and I certainly didn't want to look at a 2-possession swing there.
Yeah, obviously, 1 sack through the first 2 weeks, not a great number, but would you say that's an issue, the lack of pressure, the lack of QB pressure, or is it kind of stuff?
I don't see it as an issue. Look, the 2 games that we have played, totally different games, you know, and how those games are being played. I think Tampa was a lot more get the ball out of the quarterback's hand. There wasn't a lot of times where he was holding on to the ball to give us an opportunity to get to them. And so, and look, they were 5 of 17 on third down. So although we'd love to have, you know, a ton of sacks, the ultimate goal is to, you know, get off the field and get the ball back for your offense. And I thought overall, I thought we did a pretty good job of that. The sacks will come. You know, if I'm not mistaken, you guys would probably have a better memory about this than I do. I don't know that we had a lot of sacks to begin the season last year. But I think we ended up being, you know, one of the better teams in terms of sacking the quarterback by the end of the year. So
When you look at the fourth quarters in week 1 and week 2 and how different they are, do you find that at all striking, or is there anything instructive that you can carry forward from that?
Well, look, I mean, in one sense, the first week of the season, you know, you're encouraged by the never give up, you know, grittiness of your team, and then yet in the next week, you know, just the mistakes that we made in that in a game that was, you know, contested. You know, I felt like we could have been a little bit more patient there. And taking what the defense was giving us, because it was still a highly contested game at that point in time. But really, at the end of the day, 2 totally different games.
Coach, putting it in perspective, Jameis's health condition coming into the game before the back. Anything about the turnovers and the sacks and the misconnections in the passing? Did you think at any point of possibly making a
No.
change to spark the offense?
No.
Mark's fumble, did you feel like he had?
I thought he had pretty good ball security. You know, I say that technique-wise, I thought he was doing the right things. You know, he was trying to protect the ball. I mean, it was certainly a conscious effort on his part to try to protect it. They do a really good job of punching the ball out. That technique that they used is something that we preach defensively. We got 2 of them out the same way last week. So, you know, again, credit them for making a hell of a play. You know, we just got to do it, you know, we got to do a better job.
Was Alvin close to playing Sunday?
Yeah, well, we were holding out hope all the way to the very end. Look, he's feeling a little bit better today. We'll see where we're at. Okay, thanks.